It is here. Lumix has finally announced GH6, long anticipated micro four thirds camera, and I did have a chance to play with it for a few days. This video is not really a full review, but first impressions and my general opinion about this camera. Don't skip and you might find out something about this camera's autofocusing. Yeah, that old chestnut. Disclaimer time, I must say a massive thanks to UK Digital and Panasonic UK for lending me this pre-release copy of GH6 to try it out. However, nobody has asked me or paid me to say anything specific about it, so this is my honest and unbiased opinion about this camera. I don't really want to bore you with all the technical data about this camera, but I'm going to go through the builds and the main external features first, and then go through all the major specs, those most important ones anyway. The price. This will retail for £1,999 here in UK or $2,199 in US. Is it a good price for a macro four thirds camera? That depends on what you're going to be using it for. If you are a filmmaker, this has literally got everything you might ever need or want. More about that in just a moment. It will be also available in kits, primarily with this 12 to 35mm f2.8 lens. First impression when I got it out of the box was, wow, this camera looks very cool. There are a few significant changes and improvements to the body since GH5 to make me feel different about this camera. It is chunkier, and that makes it feel to me more pro. This big hand grip, the biggest I have seen on any mirrorless camera, very comfortable to hold, really nice. Instantly noticeable vents for cooling underneath the LCD screen on the side and underneath. There's now rec button at the top as usual, but also at the front. And the biggest change from GH5 is the tilt screen. It is the same as the one on S1H, one that tilts and flips at the same time. So fully articulated this way, and it also flips this way as well. Double card slots, CF Express and SD, full-size HDMI socket, USB-C, separately covered phones and mic sockets, and the whole camera feels different than GH5, more substantial. It uses the same batteries as S5, these DMW BLK 22s, but in the short time I have been using it, the camera seems to use more power than my S5. The batteries don't seem to last as long. There's also included time code in and out adapter cable that connects to the flash socket at the front. This possibly will help to get this camera Netflix certified when it is out. So what do we have inside? New 25 megapixel sensor with a new Venus engine, and even though it is a hybrid camera perfectly capable of taking photos, it is a video monster with specs that should please even TV production companies. This camera can now record 5.7K up to 30 frames per second Apple ProRes 422 HQ internally, and that's not all. In .mov settings, it can do 5.7K 60p 420, and then it does all other formats. Everything from C4K 120p to 4K 120p and full HD in 240 frames per second 422 10-bit internally. There's a lot of formats and frame rates to choose from. It also features full V-Log built-in, 13 stops of dynamic range, and no need to purchase it anymore. It's pre-installed. The V-Log flat profile is pre-installed now. It also supports 5.8K 30p anamorphic and 60p in 4.4K in all standard anamorphic formats, 1.3, 1.5, 1.8 and 2 times squeeze. There's obviously no recording limits. The active heat management is going to make sure that the camera does not overheat. I'll do some tests on that when I'm doing the full review of this camera in a few weeks' time. Now, that's all they're telling me, and I presume it's right. Few other nice features are the best IBIS gyro sensor stabilization, giving you 7.5 stops of stabilization. Lumix IBIS has always been superb, and this new improved system can only be better. It is better. And one thing that a lot of people want to know is what's new with the auto focusing system. The answer is nothing. This is Lumix standard contrast detect AF, but with new Venus processor, so it should be generally a little bit better, but in reality, it is what it is. The autofocus works okay. Maybe not as good as Sony or any other brand, but it works. There's autofocus on this camera. Anyone buying into Lumix ecosystem should know what they are getting into. Incredibly spec'd camera, especially when it comes to video, that most people will manually focus with anyway. The thing is though, professional video cameras are only manual focus. This can be used manual focus just like a pro video camera, but with the additional of okay autofocus. There's no point complaining about it. It won't change anything. It won't change the fact that this will be the best Micro Four Thirds camera on the market, the best Micro Four Thirds hybrid camera with amazing video specs on the market. And also it is worth mentioning that there will be future firmware update that will bring USB solid state drive direct recording and up to 120 frames per second raw video output over HDMI to Ninja 5 Plus. Overall thoughts, it is pretty much S1H with a Micro Four Thirds sensor in it. A camera built and designed for a serious filmmaker in mind. Maybe not as groundbreaking as GH4 and GH5 were, but this little body really packs a punch. It is also a very decent photo camera. A lot of people forget that. But when it comes to video, this camera has it all. All the formats, all the frame rates that you could shake, stick at, and more. I think this will appeal more to people already invested in Micro Four Thirds system, all those GH5 users ready to upgrade, but also for those people who don't have a budget to spend on cinema cameras or cinema lenses, or even S1H and full frame lenses. This is a great stepping stone to the world of high-end video quality without spending a fortune on it. And it does photos as well. This is it from me this time. I can literally feel Lumix waiting for me to give this back to them. But I will have it again very soon for the proper hands-on review. Thanks for watching. Follow me on Instagram for more photos and videos. Consider subscribing and I'll see you next time. So what do we have? 4:0, and then it does all other formats, everything from C4K 120 frames per second to 4K 120 frames per second, and I run out of script because I use too many numbers. Overall thoughts, but when it comes to